Hey guys, this is Brett Jarnigan with Life Camera Actions, here to give you a quick tour of the Life Camera workflow. When working with actions, especially actions that give an effect, it's really important to start out with a balanced photograph. And you can't always do that in camera, so that's why I created the Life Camera workflow. Let's go ahead and open up a sample image. So this image looks pretty good, but it can be polished up a little bit, especially before we run an action. Because if you run an action that has an effect on an image that isn't properly balanced, all it's going to do is highlight what's wrong with the image instead of giving it that nice enhancement that you're looking for. So starting out with this image, I always start with dodge and burn just to balance out the tonality. What that does is give you a dodge layer and a burn layer, and really quickly you can just paint in over the skin tones or whatever is too dark in the image, and also darken down parts that are too bright. So that's step one. I'd go ahead and flatten that from there. The second action that I use all the time in my workflow is called red sucks. We all have red tones in our skin, and they're kind of exaggerated a lot in photographs, especially when we get to things like color pop and extreme pop. Those red tones are going to get exaggerated, and it's not going to look good, and your clients aren't going to appreciate it any. So red sucks. If we hit play on that, it's going to give us a prompt that'll tell us how to run this action. And if you want to get rid of that prompt, you can just click off this red box here on the side. So we run the action, and again, we can zoom in here and just paint over the skin tones to get rid of any redness. It's a subtle change, but it really makes a huge difference once we get into the actual color popping of the image. So here's a before and after with that. And if you think it's there's not enough red after you've done that, you can always slide down the opacity. And if you think there's too much red, you can hit Command or Control J and make a duplicate layer that takes out even more red from the image. So from there, I'd flatten the image, which is also included in the Life Camera workflow. And you can set up a hotkey so you can get through your workflow a lot faster. I'd recommend doing that for all of these that you use on a daily basis on each image, so that way you can zip through these and get to the more fun actions. So now that we have the image balanced, we can go ahead and mess with the toning a little bit. I like to shoot with a cooler white balance just because it gives me more blues to work with. So I've included Blue Enhance, and when we play that and paint in over the blues, it takes these blues that were in the wall, or in this door, and really exaggerates that color. And again, you can slide that until you like it. So I like it right there. Gives it a little bit more interest. This is actually taken at a grain elevator of all places. Now that we have that set, we can go ahead and sharpen the image. We can turn it to black and white. We can pop the colors. We can give it a warmer or a cooler white balance. Any of these things, there's all kinds of stuff in here. But I would go ahead and pop the color because I think it's ready to go. So just hit play, and all that does is snap the color really quick. If you need more, you can hit Command or Control J to duplicate the layer. I think one is enough. And then I'd come down to something like warm tones, hit play on that, and that'll finish up your image. Or you can take both these off and go into Vintage Touch Actions or the Texture Pack to add some more effects. For now, let's go ahead and look at a before and after. So here's our before, and here's after. Let's go ahead and open up another sample image. Alright, everything looks pretty balanced in this image, so there's not a whole lot of need to dodge and burn. But I would like to brighten up her eyes just a little bit because I know they're brighter than that. So you can just get really detailed when you run your dodge and burn. Brighten those up just a tad. And while I'm in here, I might want to just darken down this side a little bit, maybe her hair, maybe her shirt, and this part over here. From there, I'd flatten the image and run red sucks to get rid of these red skin tones. You just paint over those really quickly. Looks great. And then I'd go in and run an action, because I shot this at about f1, 1.2, and it's not tack sharp. Shame on me. But luckily I have an eye enhance action that we can zoom in and get in here and make those eyes pop. Not even run at about 20% maybe on the eyelashes, just to give it a little bit more sharpness. And if you want that effect more intense, you can just hit Command or Control J to duplicate it. And do that as you see fit. So again, the one finishing touch, or the finishing touches in the Life Camera workflow, really the color pops, and I would say warm tones, and the epic action as well. And that's more for full sky images. So let's go ahead and hit play on warm tones, and there you go. Let's take a look at a before and after. Here's our before and after. Cool. Let's go ahead and move on to our next image. Here we go. Again, I always start out with dodge and burn. And I would probably brighten up her pants just a little bit and darken down everything else that's just a little too overpowering. Whoops. That was smooth. Here we go. Sorry about that. Cool. If you screw up, you can just flip this over here by hitting X. That'll switch your color palette. And paint back any areas you messed up with black. Flatten that. Run red sucks again, as always. Realize how much red is in people's skin until you start popping the colors, and then you think, yeah, I need to really cut that out. So there we go. Did that. I'd run a color pop really quick, and then I'd probably take this one on up into the Vintage Touch actions. Run Awesomeness. Dial that down a little bit, and then run 50 years. And there you go. Really quick, really simple, and really effective. So here's our before, here's our after, and of course you can go ahead and maybe throw on a texture if you want. Like paper cut from the Vintage Touch actions. And there's your final product. So really quick and really simple. That's what it's all about. We don't want to spend time in Photoshop, or more time than necessary, even if it is fun to play. We want to be able to get the most out of our images as quickly as we can, so we can spend more time behind the camera or more time with the ones we love. So that's what's important, and that's what the Life Camera workflow is going to help you achieve. Really great effects really quickly. So this is Brett Jarnigan with Life Camera Actions. Be sure to check out more of our stuff at www.lifecameraactions.com, and also check out the videos on the Vintage Touch actions as well as the texture pack. Thanks guys.